All right. Problem 4.3. We are now back in our notes. We are on the back side of page 34. And we are going to talk about evaluating the 6 functions, so sine, cosine, tangent, all that, for this picture. Now, up to this point, we've pretty much been using the same picture. We are now moving into different quadrants. So what difference is that going to make? Well, let's kind of look it over and see. We have an angle down here. I'm going to go ahead and make a triangle because in order to do my trigonometry, I need opposite and hypotenuse and all that. So I need a triangle. Now, according to this problem, I'm coming left 3 and down 4. Would you agree? So I'm going to go ahead and call that -3 and -4. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Mrs. Ford, the sides of a triangle can't be negative. You are right. But for purposes of the trigonometry, I'm going to mark those negatives because the negative is going to have an impact on my answer. So I get it that negative shouldn't have negative sides, but we're going to do it for our trigonometry. So according to the problem, I'm over 3, down 4. So I'm making that triangle right there. Now I'm going to do my Pythagorean theorem, and I'm going to come up with what that hypotenuse is. Okay? So I'm going to do -3 squared, and I'm going to do -4 squared, and I'm going to get x squared. Now, what's -3 squared? 9. What's -4 squared? Okay, what I'm trying to get you to see here is you're not going to have negatives in your Pythagorean theorem because you're squaring, everything's going to be positive. There are never going to be any negatives in the Pythagorean theorem because everything is squared. So what's R? R must be, R squared is 25, so R must be 5. When you draw your triangle, depending on the quadrant that you are in, it is perfectly okay for the x side, the x-axis side to be negative. It's okay for the y to be negative, but R will always be positive. The hypotenuse will always be positive. X and y can be negative, but R will always be positive. Now, the angle that we use is always the one at the origin. Always the one at the origin. So this is my opposite side. Would you agree? This is my adjacent side, and this, of course, is my hypotenuse. So finding the sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent will be easy. It's exactly what we did before. The only difference is some of those answers are going to be negative. Because when I do opposite over hypotenuse, I get -4/5, which means cosecant is -5/4. Remember, in a fraction, it doesn't matter where you put the negative. It can go on the top or the bottom. Cosine, what's my cosine? -3/5. So my secant is -5/3. What's my tangent? Positive 4/3. Now it's positive because the negatives cancel. There you go. Solid. Definitely solid. All right, let's look at the next one. B. Don't get confused by all the big junk and all that. What have we got? We've got a triangle down here this time. And the point is right 1 and down 2. My scale's not right, but does those labels look okay? Right 1, down 2. Now we'll do our Pythagorean theorem. So 1 squared, 1. Negative 2 squared is 4. Root 5. And remember, the hypotenuse is always positive. So you ready to answer your questions? I'm just going to erase these so I don't have to rewrite everything. All right, sine.
-2 over root 5.
-2 over root 5, which is -2 root 5 over 5. And my cosecant is -root 5 over 2. What about my cosine?
1 over root 5.
It's positive. 1 over root 5, root 5 over 5. And the secant is root 5 over 1. It's positive. And how about our tangent?
-2 and -1/2.
-2 over 1 or -2, and this one's going to be -1/2. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. This is exactly like the quiz you took yesterday, except what? What's the only thing that's different about it?
Different shape.
Well, it's not really a different shape. It's a shape in a different place.
Yeah.
So we've got negatives to worry about. Now, one thing I want to make sure we're clear on. Up until today, every triangle I drew looked like this. I mean, that's the way I drew every triangle. But now I'm in different quadrants. Every triangle you draw, no matter what quadrant it's in, kids, needs to be part of what we call the butterfly bow tie. Every triangle you draw, ever in trigonometry, is going to look like one of these. I never want to see a triangle that looks like this. That's not part of the butterfly bow tie. So when you are setting up your pictures, you won't be drawing all 4 of those, but make sure that if you're drawing one in quadrant 2, make sure it looks like that right there. Butterfly bow tie for all of them. All right, let's try the next one.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Are we always going to find the hypotenuse?
When you're given, in most of these problems, you're given a point, which is automatically the X and the Y, so yeah, you're going to be finding R. I don't want to say always because there might be some other mutant problem, but in terms of this kind, yes, because I'm giving you a point. So in C, I'm in quadrant 2, so there's my butterfly bow tie piece in quadrant 2. And what is X? -1, and Y is 3. So you'll do your Pythagorean theorem. And get, not 10,
2 square 5.
root 10, the square root of 10. Remember, you have 1 plus 9 equals x squared, so x squared x equals root 10.
So we're not breaking down the hypotenuse, we're just saying.
You always break it down if you can. Square root of 10 doesn't break down.
But you can take numbers out of it, right?
No.
Well, it has
Five,
factors,
six,
but it doesn't have 2 of anything.
Oh, okay.
Remember, we have to have 2 of something. All right, here we go. What's the sign? Positive. 3 over root 10. 3 root 10 over 10. which means the cosecant is root 10 over 3. What's the cosine?
Negative 1 over root 10.
Negative 1 over root 10, or negative root 10 over 10. So your secant is negative root 10 over 1. What's your tangent?
Negative 3 over 1.
3 over negative 1, which is negative 3, and then the cotangent is negative 1/3. Anybody have any issues with that? You feel okay with that? All right, let's try that last one on your own. Got your exit ticket out of here. I'm going to check your answer. As soon as you have it right, you're
His
gone.
number's too big.
Huh?
His number's big and it's making me nervous.
Yeah.
Like root 41?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, root 41 is the right number. Notice that point is in quadrant 1, right? And what does that mean about all your things? Will you have any negatives this time?
No.